Welcome, welcome, welcome. Day two of the World Cup. Goal Fest, the Three Lions dominant. I want to thank you for joining me on this live Sports Talk Tech Live with your World Cup live reaction here. I will be discussing the England versus Iran game. What a match it was for the Three Lions. I thought from the start that England would have this comfortably in the bag, and it was even more comfortable than I thought it would have been. So we're going to go through this. So in this live, we'll go through the game as quickly as possible. We'll take some comments, some questions. If you're joining us on the rebroadcast, don't forget to put your questions, your comments. I'll definitely get to them later on. And thank you for joining us on this live. So this is a wonderful game for England. 6 goals. It could have been more. Definitely not a great start for Iran. Definitely not a great start for Asian teams at this World Cup. Yesterday, Qatar, the host, suffered a defeat. They're the Asian champions. Iran, the highest ranked team from the Asia division of football from FIFA, and they got totally humiliated this evening. And I have to be honest with you, I thought that they would have put up a bigger fight, because when you think about the coach Carlos Queiroz, he's a tactician for organization. Historically, he's done this. He's done this at club football. If you remember Manchester United back in the day, that set up semi-final against Barcelona 2008. He's really good when it comes to the defensive organization, organizing a team, but he just didn't have it today. And I think for the first 30 minutes of this match, the first half an hour or so, you saw a compact Iran team. They hardly touched the ball, but they were in good positions. But look, but as soon as they make a couple mistakes, they came out a little bit early. The 19-year-old Jude Bellingham, the first English player under 20 to score since, I believe, Michael Owen in 1998, if you remember that 1998 World Cup. He breaks the deadlock. A fantastic quick pass from Harry Maguire. Excellent cross by Luke Shaw. And once England got ahead, you felt that it was going to be the night for the British and for the English. And so it happened. I have to be honest with you. You started to see that after the 30-minute mark that England was getting into the game. Harry Maguire hits the post. He should have scored that goal. And but a couple minutes later, 3 minutes later, they break the deadlock. So there's a number of things that I thought surprised me. I didn't really think that Gareth Southgate would have started Maguire in this match. He has not been featuring for Manchester United, but you see some level of perhaps loyalty, understanding the national team. The game isn't that quick, I imagine, so he felt comfortable starting there. Initially, I thought there was going to be a back three, but it seems more closer to a back four. Lots of possession for England, and it was just overall a lovely performance. I mean, the game was literally over by the first half. It was a tough night for the Iranians, particularly they had to do a concussion protocol substitution early. The goalkeeper picking up an injury. Not quite sure. That wouldn't really have made much of a difference, because I think England overall much better. They always seem as if they had an outlet to pass the ball. They weren't being pressured that much. Even when Iran was trying to be compact, it wasn't any kind of hype, any kind of major pressing from the Iranians. And because of that, in the end, England had it really easy. It could have been much more. And so I want to go through some of these things. Let us know where you're joining from. Thank you for joining me on the live. So you think about it, it's a 6-2 performance, about 78% of the possession to the English. It's just a really dominant performance. Lots of fouls committed this evening by the Iranians. And I think if you're Gareth Southgate, you're happy with what you see. I guess Maguire comes off with some form of an injury, but hopefully it's nothing serious. And there's one point in the match Harry McCain picked up a knock, but he shrugged that off really quickly and continued to motor on. And this English team looks really good. Many people, some of people, I think a lot of people have them as a pre-tournament favorite. I have them going probably to the semifinals, I believe, in my bracket that I did. But this is a very strong English team. And when you saw those substitutions late in the game, that host of substitution, bringing on the likes of Marcus Rashford, Grealish, you realize that they have a lot. Phil Foden, there's a lot of talent there. And if they're managed well, if they do this properly throughout this tournament, you have to think the English will go pretty far in this World Cup. They have been fantastic by their standards over the last two tournaments, major tournaments. They reached the semi-final of the last World Cup. They were in the final of the European Championships just a year ago. And now they're coming into this World Cup and with an understanding of tournament football. And one of the things that Gareth Southgate is good at, whether you believe he's excellent tactically or not, he understands how this tournament football operates. And I think he's really doing well. So make sure you tell us your thoughts on the match. Do you think England would have scored 6 goals? I thought England would have won the match. But I didn't expect them to score that many because I expected Iran to do much more in terms of being more compact. But I guess once they conceded in the first half, then they had to try to go for it a little bit. And in the end, you saw the quality of the English national team. 13 shots on target, 13 shots, 7 on target, 8 shots for Iran, 3 on target. They had a couple of opportunities. Maybe if they had scored them, it would have made it a little bit better of a game. But at no point you could have watched this match and think that England was under any serious pressure, right? In many ways, I have to wonder, if I'm doing a big summation here, is England that good, or did Iran just miscalculated, or they weren't as good as we anticipated them to be? Because you have to think about it. There's at no point really that a Maguire was under pressure so much, or a Stones. Bellingham was pushing up somewhat, Rice protecting, and they look really comfortable. And you wonder if you can sustain this. And I wonder if it was a mistake not to try exactly to go for a back three or something that you would line up later on in the tournament. But I suppose there's a level of comfort players should be able to move through systems. So we might be able to see England making some shifts later on. But it was a fantastic performance by them. And to be honest with you, it was a good game of football. I mean, if you're from England, if you're a supporter of them, you can't really complain that much. No injuries to really take note of, and that was it. But what about Jude Bellingham, right? Shout out to the kid. I mean, that kid is beyond mature for me. You saw him break on the scene a few years ago, that transfer to Borussia Dortmund. He's setting his own. You have to think after this season, he may be on a transfer to a massive club. Not that Dortmund isn't a massive club, but they're a selling club mostly. So he may be lining up in the lights of one of the major clubs in England, or maybe Real Madrid or someplace like that. But he looks so comfortable on the ball, as if he has a lot of time all the time. And I think that is really, really important. So excellent performance by him. Saka, man. That guy is something else. Really special. And it's really good to see some of these youngsters who, would have suffered some of the backlash after that, missing those penalties in the last European Championship to come back. And Saka, 2 goals tonight. What can you say? I imagine if he might be a little bit upset that Gareth pulled him off and he didn't get a chance to get the 3 goals to score and hat trick. But that was a lovely goal for the second one, left foot shot, center of the box following a corner. And when you look, and I realized that as much as Iran was good in terms of being compact early on, they really missed the ball on the set plays. And I think England really capitalized on those set plays. And yeah, it was, and then before you know it was done and dusted. Uh, Raheem Sterling on England number 3 gets the third goal for England. Right foot shot in the center of the box right there, and yeah, what you know, I imagine like if you were Iran just before the half, you felt like you could have pulled back one in the 11th minute of added time, because of it. Obviously the halves were very long in this game. We got very long halves, extra added time rather, 14 minutes I believe in the first half because of the goalkeeper injury, and 10 or 11 in the second. So in a way, this was much longer than you would have anticipated, and I think uh, if around the 11th minute there was an attempted miss there by the Iranian player, and maybe if they got a quick fast break, England lost the ball a little bit, and had they scored that, it would have been maybe 3-1 at the half. It wouldn't have done much, I imagine, for the game structure. But you come into this game thinking that if you pull one back at the half, the halftime talk is different. But it was done and dusted by the half. You just couldn't see any way for them to come back. They weren't aggressive enough. They couldn't cope with the English players technically either, and they were being outpassed. And what can you say? And most of the times you think about a team with a low block, can you break them down? And England had the answers. They really did. Saka again in the 62nd minute, and what. It really cemented the game 4-0 at that time. And Iran came back with a lovely strike against the runner play, and I think Tarami right-footed shot from the center of the box looked really nice, and a couple quick passes. I think at that point England was probably a little bit sloppy. There's not much there. In a way, you have to think, conceding after going up 4 goals, you could understand it. I think Southgate wouldn't want that, because they probably wanted a clean sheet, dominant performance. I mean, performance was dominant, but you wanted a clean sheet there. And yeah, so against the run of play, and then this is the first time you started to see, a little signs of worry for England in terms of the injury to Harry Maguire. Picks up a knock. They take him off, obviously, for good reason. You can do your concussion substitutions if you need to. Plus, you have 5 substitutes, and why risk it? They're already winning the game. So then England starts to bring on some bulk of subs. And if anything about this performance is that when Southgate makes the big changes and he brings on Marcus Rashford and Grealish and Foden and Wilson, you realize that the team is ready to go, because it's a sign of a great team, or a sign of a competitive unit that is focused, that you can bring on a host of subs and they make immediate impact. And Marcus Rashford, the Manchester United guy, in great form right now. Terrible season last year, but he's been playing very well for Manchester United. Basically, based on his performances, made it into this World Cup squad, because after last season, no one would have thought that he would have made this World Cup team. And he comes in, left foot shot from the center of the box, a nice assist from Harry Kane. And, you start to say to yourself, this is just going to get embarrassing. And you could see England probably could have scored a lot more, and they took it a little bit off the gas, because you also don't want to overdo it. And then Grealish at the end gets the 6. And I have to say, this goal also impressed me a lot, because when you look at the likes of Callum Wilson, he gets into the box, and he probably could have scored that goal. I thank you everyone for joining us. We're discussing this fantastic performance by England against Iran. Let me know where you're joining me from. Let me know your thoughts and comments on this performance. Hit that like and subscribe button. We have a lot of channels on sport. We have a lot of videos on Sports Talk Tech. We're doing a lot of work on covering some of the World Cup games here, and I appreciate you joining me, and wherever you're joining me from. If you're joining me on the replay, don't forget to just tell me where you're joining me from. Put your comments, your thoughts on the match. Who was your man of the match? Who was the man of the match for you today? It was just a all-around team effort. Is it Saka? I thought Kane played really well as well, setting up a couple goals. His positioning was really good, but Bellingham really impressed me as well. So, it's hard to really single out anybody in that performance. I think Southgate would think it was a great performance. We got a comment here from Anish. Thank you for joining us. Did Iran represent themselves about as well as they could? Do you reckon they can pick themselves? That's a very good question here. I actually don't. I think Iran underperformed for me. I think if you look at the first 30 minutes, I was saying there was some level of compact play, but they should have shut it down. I didn't expect them to win the game. I don't think anybody thought that would have happened. When you go down 6 goals, though, when you concede 6 goals, I think they would take some comfort with getting 2 goals. The penalty at the end, very soft for me, very, very soft. But and I'll get to that. But when you concede 6 goals in the opening game, it's just really tough. I mean, I think they could obviously play much better. But I think it's over for them already. I don't know, right? I mean, we have to see. Let's see what the performance looks like later on with the Wales team and the United States. We can get better gauge the quality there, because this English team is very good. They have to pick themselves up, though, to be honest with you, Anish. They really need to figure out a way. I think scoring those 2 goals is useful because goal difference could matter. Because I think England will comfortably win the group. I think they will beat everybody in this group. And initially, I thought maybe not by a lot of goals, but I think the second game they will probably score some more goals. They'll probably qualify by then. And then for the last game, you never know what happens. So, yeah, we'll see. Thanks for joining us, Danik from India. I appreciate you on the channel. And so, yeah, I think. But back to that last goal for England, I think what it showed me is a team that is prepared to do the right things. A lot of composure, because Wilson could have taken that shot, because he's a center forward. You get into the box, you say to yourself, I am going to score this. What take the shot. But he does the right thing. He does the right thing, the football thing. He brings back the ball, sets it up. I don't think Jack Grealish will score an easier goal at this World Cup. And the English team are off and running, looking really good. Yeah, I agree with you, Anish. Yeah, they look very strong and fluent. Yeah, they're playing some good stuff. And so this is the question I have. And I know England is good. We all know it's, even if you don't like England, you have to realize there is a lot of talented players there. They are also in good nick. In the last 2 tournaments, major tournaments, they have been setting themselves up to play well, right? They semifinals, last World Cup. Also, they're here in the finals of the European Championships last year. And so for me, when you think about this, you have to say they understand the tournament football, right? So they're out of the gate here. They look good. There's a lot of places to go. I don't know. You got to think about, will Walker come back into this team? So they still have to work their way through. And this is a long tournament, clearly, so they have to manage this well. And I think the way they started this game, with it basically being over by halftime, it allowed Southgate to actually send on the cavalry to make sure that they could get a little bit of minutes here. So I think he'll work them through the tournament, manage them. And yeah, who knows? I mean, I think if he says he's not here to make up the numbers, and they'll be extremely disappointed if they don't make it to the last 4. And judging by this performance, it's hard to see them not progressing far. But again, we also have to put it in context. It's Iran. No disrespect to them, but they didn't play well either. I think they lost the plot early. I'm not quite sure. I don't if there's geopolitical things we can put into this. I mean, it's hard to know. We realized they weren't singing the anthem, but I imagine as a group they were unified, and so I don't know. So we'll see. What are your thoughts on that penalty at the end? I mean, the VAR called it back. I guess, and if you remember how VAR works, they only intervene in cases for missed penalties when there's a clear and obvious error from the from the on-field referee. And so, in your estimation, was that a clear and obvious error from the referee? Yes, Stones has his hands around the attacking player, but I actually don't. And I think it's a penalty in some context, but when you think about like early in the game, there was a lot of shirt pulling as well, or grabbing around early in the first half of the game, particularly against John Stones, also against Maguire. I don't know if in the context or the flow of the game that was worthy of saying the referee made a clear and obvious error, but we'll see. I mean, that happens in the end. I don't think it matters for England. England are the clear favorites for the group. You win a game 6-2. That's a +4. Unless something catastrophic happens, you don't think England is going to be in any need of the goal difference. They're out of the gate flying, and it's just a wonderful performance. So, who's your man of the match? If we had to give a man of the match, how far do you think England will go in this tournament? Because I think they're doing very well. It's hard to, I have them going very far. For me, I think they may end up in the semifinals if I remember my thing correctly. But yeah, that was an impressive performance, opening performance, from England, and I thought they did well. Bellingham is definitely a bright spark. Looks like a true leader. I don't know if you can get him out of that midfield. Well, there's also a reason why he started. I mean, he's fantastic. We've seen him in good performances in the Champions League too. A couple of them against Manchester City as well. The kind of composure the lad has. You need that. You don't really have that composure all the time at that age, and especially playing in that position. Kind of floating in and out of that midfield, maybe a number 8 at times, maybe coming back a little bit. He's really a generational talent here. And I think once he's managed well, especially in this, and I'm particularly in this tournament, I think he will play a pivotal role. If you're Southgate, you're happy. Rashford comes on and scores. Grealish comes on and scores. Kane hasn't done anything in terms of firing yet, but he is really setting up some goals, assists there. You're getting crosses from Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire making a quick pass into early in the game. It is interesting, right? Like I didn't see that coming. I thought Maguire would look particularly sluggish. I thought he would have caused much more problems. But then again, this is Iran, so we have to put it in context. Also, it's international football, and it's not as fast as in the Premier League. Or even in the Champions League. And so, maybe it was the kind of right game for him. Maybe it's the right call to play him early and to build him in the tournament. Stones looked good. Trippier didn't have much to do. I think they didn't really have much to do. So in a way, you didn't get a sense of any real problems facing the Iranians this evening. And to sum it up, I think it was a fantastic performance by them. They will, I think, get much more of a challenge against the United States too, especially a physical challenge. I think the US will press them more, and so it might be a different setup, or they have to be crisper with the passes. England wasn't pressured today in terms of moving the ball quickly. A few times they were moving it a little bit too slowly, but then eventually they start to pick up the pace on that. And I mean, they have the capabilities of crushing everyone in this group and moving forward. So I wanted to come on here this evening and just do a quick recap of the game. I really appreciate you guys supporting me on the channel. Get your thoughts in, your questions, your comments. Don't forget to like. If it's the first time on the channel, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because that helps us but it also helps you to know when we are coming live or when we drop a new video. We have a couple of interesting videos on the channel right now around football. If you're here for only football, definitely check out my video on the semi-automated offside technology, where I break down the introduction of that for this World Cup and whether it has an impact on the flow of the game and its connection to accuracy and making the game much better. And if you're a VAR hater, let me know as well. I mean, we can talk about that. I'd love to discuss that as well. My bracket is out there for those of you who want to see who I have going all the way to the World Cup final. You know how these things go. You make some predictions. Maybe it's not my favorite bracket now after thinking about it, but it's there, so you can check that out as well. And check out my Sports Explain playlist, especially if you are a fan of sports. You'll get a sense of different things that we cover on the channel. So I appreciate you joining me. This was a quick live, and I will maybe be back again tonight after the game. Don't forget to watch the game that's about to start. Senegal versus the Netherlands. I think that's going to be a standout game for the day as well. It definitely will give us some insight on how good Senegal is, and in terms of coping without Sadio Mane. As I mentioned before on the platform here, I still think Senegal can go through without Mane. And then the day kicks off, ends with Wales versus the United States. US back at the World Cup after missing out the last time. I believe this is 60-something years since Wales made it to the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken. So, should be some good games later on. So enjoy the World Cup, stay safe, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for joining. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I appreciate everything you do and all the support you give us. Bye for now.